Good morning, Year 4. It is Thursday, the 14th of January, and we are going to do some English. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen with you so that we can start. And you should be able to see on your screen now the date, Thursday, the 14th of January. If you want to write that, pause me while you write that onto your paper or your orange book. And our learning objective this morning is to create atmosphere in my writing. So atmosphere is a bit like how it would feel to be in a situation. So the feeling of the situation. You've actually done quite a lot of work towards this already. So the last two lessons have been building up to write your paragraph for plot point 2 here. So yesterday we wrote some expanded noun phrases and we wrote some feeling sentences, how we would feel when we first got down into the cave and saw the dragons, and then how we felt when one of those dragons woke up. And I've plotted us on our narrative map at about a 7 or an 8. So quite negative vocabulary that we were using, fear vocabulary, and how the dragon looks, so really frightening, scary vocabulary to describe the dragon that woke up. Okay, so we're going to put all of that together this morning. So you will need, first of all, you will need your paper or your book. You will need your word collector list from yesterday. So if you haven't got those, pause the video and go and get those, and your sentences. So the sentences that you would have written at the end of yesterday's lesson, the end of part 1 and the end of part 2. So you would have written your expanded noun phrases and then the sentences about how you were feeling. So if you haven't got any of that, pause the video now and go and get those things. Okay, so this morning we're going to put our paragraph together. Now, our paragraph, as I've said, is going to describe what happens in plot point 2. So, we're going to break this into 3 parts. We're going to break our writing into 3 parts. Now, before we do this, let's have a look at our skills for successful writing. So, what should we try to include in our writing? Well, we want to check that we've got our capital letter and our full stop. And I saw this trick on one of the websites, the 2-finger trick. So if you put your finger at the beginning of a sentence and check you've got your capital letter and read it, and then at the end of that sentence, put your other finger and check you've got your full stop. And then we're going to remember to say our sentence out loud, then write it, and then read it back to check it makes sense. And then we're going to edit and improve our work after we've read it back. So when we read it back, we often spot mistakes, or we think, that's not such a great word, I'm going to change that for a better word. Now, we're looking at feelings, sights, and actions, and sounds as well. Some sounds maybe in your paragraph. We want different sentence starters. So instead of writing the dragon, the dragon, the dragon, the dragon, you could use the word beast to describe the dragon, so the beast, or you could use the word creature. You may think of some other words that you could describe the dragon. You might want to call him, you might want to name him, like give him a species name. So we are using our expanded noun phrases that we wrote yesterday, so you should have those already. And we're remembering to try and use precise adjectives. So we want to choose the best word for the situation. We will talk about all of these things, obviously, as we go along. Okay, so as I said, we are breaking our writing into 3 parts of the paragraph. So there are 3 main events in your paragraph. So first of all, you're in the cave and the dragons are asleep. and then one of the dragons wakes up. Now, in between here is where you need to make sure that the bits of your paragraph are linking. So you're in the cave with the sleeping dragons, and then I guess something would happen here to wake up the dragon. Okay, so we'll talk about these ideas as we go along, but we need to make sure that we have cohesion between our sentences, which means make sure that they link well from one to the next. So each sentence links and makes sense. And then the third part of our writing is the dragon spots you. So the dragon's going to see who's made the noise perhaps, or he's just going to spot you in the cave. And then for the last piece of your writing tomorrow, you're going to decide what happens after that. Okay, so today we're writing into 3 parts, 1, 2, and 3, and we've broken these down for you so that you can make sure each part is the best it can be. Okay, so your turn then. You need to pause the video so that you can split your page into 3 columns like this, 1, 2, 3, and then you'll need 3 like parts, so number it down the margin 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you just draw 1, 2, 3 lines. This should be the end of your book or your paper, and then a line across, and then you write these headings. So you can just write events, description, and action. You don't need to write all of it. So just pause the video and make sure your paper is looking a bit like this to start with. Okay, I'm assuming you've done that and your paper looks like mine. So we will move on to our first part, the first part of our paragraph. So, yesterday you gathered lots of words. Now, your job before you start writing, is to put these events, so you can copy this bit here. So event 1, everyone is in the cave with the sleeping dragons. So number 1 here, you're going to write in the cave with the sleeping dragons, or you can just write in the cave. And then you're going to use your word collector list from yesterday to take out some of the precise feelings adjectives for how you thought you would be feeling. Remember, you wrote some sentences, and the first ones you wrote were how you were feeling when you got in the cave. So we ranked our words into strength almost. So we thought that we would be a bit less than scared. We might be nervous and we might be wary. So you put your words into this box, the words you chose for this part of the story when you first get into the cave. And then your action verbs and your adverbs. So how would you be moving? You wouldn't be crashing around, would you? You'd be quiet, so you might be tiptoeing and creeping. And you are looking for a dragon to fit into your basket. So remember, your job is to find a dragon so that you can be in the hooligan tribe. So you're looking for a dragon to fit into your basket. And if you remember, the book and said that it was very smelly in that cave. So I was holding my nose because I didn't want to smell the dragons. I think they said they smell like mackerel, which is a fish. So not very pleasant at all. So from your word collector, you're going to now pause the video and pop in your words and your sentences that go with this section of the paragraph where you've just got down into the cave with the sleeping dragons. So pause that now and do that. Okay, so now we're going to I'm going to write my version based on what I have got in my boxes. So I'm going to model some writing here on how we can do that. So I'm going to start with the word feeling. So I've got my capital letter and I'm going to write feeling nervous. So I've taken that first word out of that box. So I prefer nervous to wary, so I'm going to use nervous. And feeling nervous, comma, I began to search around for a dragon. And I'm going to add to that, I'm going to write for a dragon that would fit into my basket, because that's why I'm there. Now, you might want to use the first sentence that I've got. You might want to change it around a bit. It's up to you. But you need to make sure that most of this is your own writing. Right, so now I've got that. I've got why I'm there, and I've got I was nervous. Great. So I like that. Feeling nervous, comma, I began to search around for a dragon that would fit into my basket. Now I'm going to talk about the smell. So I'm going to say, oh, and that's why we check our work. The smell. Oh, the smell, not the small, was revolting, which is really bad. But, no, I'm not going to write but. The smell was revolting, so I held my nose. Then I'm going to write but. But I had to let go of it to find my dragon. Now, I might want to change that in a minute, but I'm going to leave it for now. I'll read it through in a minute and see if I like it or not. This turned out to be a bad idea. And I'll tell you why. Because I've decided that how I'm going to wake the dragon up is to sneeze. So I'm going to write, this turned out to be a bad idea because, use that conjunction, because all of a sudden, so I didn't expect it to happen, I sneezed. Full stop. Right, let's read that back. Feeling nervous, comma, I began to search around for a dragon that would fit into my basket. The smell was revolting, so I held my nose. But I had to let go of it to find my dragon. I'm not sure about that sentence, you know. This turned out to be a bad idea because all of a sudden I sneezed. I'm going to change that. I'm going to put, but I had to let go of it so that I had my hands free to grab myself a dragon, because remember, that's what we're there. We're going to grab, oh, and I need to edit that. Look, I've missed out a letter. But I had to let go of it so that I had my hands free to grab myself a dragon. I like that much better. This turned out to be a bad idea because all of a sudden, comma, I sneezed. Okay, so now it's your turn. Using your plan, your adjectives and your adverbs and verbs, have a go now, pause the video and write yourself a couple of sentences, 2 sentences about what happened when you first got into the cave. Don't forget, you need to use a feeling word, feeling nervous or how you were feeling. You don't need to start it with feeling. You can start it however you like, but you need to use those feelings words and you need to explain what's going on. Okay, pause the video now and have a go at that. Okay, now we're going to look at part 2 of our model. So I've just sneezed. Uh-oh, that's definitely going to wake a dragon up. So this is the part in my paragraph where one of the dragons wakes up, and I've just told you that I sneezed and that's how he woke up. So in my middle box, I've now got some vocabulary that describes how I feel when the dragon wakes up. Now I've got the words alarmed, scared, fearful, afraid. So I wasn't absolutely petrified at this point because I don't know if the dragon's going to see me or not. I might get away with it. And then I've got words, adjectives to describe the dragon. So I've decided that my dragon is going to be big. It's going to be really big and threatening. So I've got those words in here, enormous, colossal. I'm not sure which one to use yet. I'll decide when I'm writing. And then my action verbs, well, I coughed or sneezed. Maybe you dropped something, maybe you tripped over, maybe you coughed. Maybe that's how you woke the dragon up. That's up to you. You choose how you woke the dragon up. Maybe someone else woke the dragon up. Maybe it was somebody else, not you. And then I've got my words that go with how I was feeling. So I was alarmed. I remember those show, don't tell words. So I've got shaking, my heart might be beating now, and it's going to be beating quickly or rapidly. So it's your turn now to pause the video and to take your word collector words from yesterday, put them in the right box, and then think about the action words, verbs and adverbs that you are going to put in here from your show, don't tell sentences that you wrote at the end of the lesson. So pause the video now and pop those in the correct box. Okay, so now I'm going to have a go at writing part 2 of my paragraph. So I'm going to have a quick look back at 1. And oh yeah, so I left it on I sneezed. So to make sure this links with the next part, so to make sure I have cohesion in my writing, I'm going to add to that sneeze. So what would happen after I sneeze? Well, I'm in a cave, so I would imagine there might be an echo. So I'm going to start with that. The sound echoed around the cave. And then I'm going to say, that's when I started feeling quite scared. So, and my heart began to beat, and I like rapidly. Quickly is okay, but I prefer rapidly. It's a bit different. So I'm going to use the word rapidly. My heart began to beat rapidly. Then I'm going to use the subordinating conjunction as, and I'm going to say, as one colossal, so really big, colossal, it's an interesting spelling, got to make sure I've got that right. Yeah, one colossal dragon. What's he going to do? Is he going to roar at me? He hasn't seen me yet. So I'm going to say he lifted up his head. Lifted up his head. I think that will do for that sentence. Let's read that back. The sound echoed around the cave, and my heart began to beat rapidly as one colossal dragon lifted up his head. Yeah, that sounds good. Now I'm going to tell people that he was awake. He was awake. And I'm going to use an exclamation mark there because it's a bit of a shock, isn't it? He was awake. Oh no, what's going to happen next? So I finished my sentence with my part 2 with that very short sentence. Now, short sentences are great for impact sometimes, and that gives it an impact there. He was awake. Dun, dun, dun. I wonder what's going to happen next. It makes my reader want to read on to see what happens next. Okay, so again, you're going to write 1 or 2 sentences to describe what happens when the dragon wakes up. Does he roar really loud? Does he start chasing you already? Or does he just, like mine, lift up his head and then you're a bit alarmed because he's awake? Pause the video now and write your version of part 2. Okay, so the final part of our paragraph. The dragon spots me. Oh dear. So in my adjectives box, I have now chosen the words from my word collector list that describe the dragon. So the first activity we did yesterday when we wrote our expanded noun phrases. Now, you're going to hopefully use one of these expanded noun phrases today in your writing. Now, the dragon has spotted me and I'm going to tell people what he looks like. So I've got skinny neck, smooth scales, long sharp claws, that was from my expanded noun phrase, round evil eyes, I think he might roar and groan. Remember, that's from our sounds lens at the beginning. And my feelings has now stepped up a bit. So I'm now terrified, petrified, or horrified. And the way I'm going to show the reader that I'm terrified, I've got the word sweating, shudder, his roar. I've got his roar in here. So I'm going to add an adverb there. So a thunderous roar. And then I might start cowering or shrinking or ducking down, or one of those action verbs that we've got there. So, going to have a go then at writing part 3 in a second, but you need to now pause the video again and add your adjectives from yesterday, from your expanded noun phrases into this box so that it makes it easier for you to choose them as you're writing, and then your verbs, your doing words, action words into this box here. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at filling your boxes. Okay, now you should have written your words into the right boxes. So this part is going to be the longest part of our paragraph, because you can see we've got a lot of adjectives in there. We've got a lot of things to talk about, and this is the bit that really builds. So we've been building up the atmosphere, but this is the bit that really would give the reader that that feeling of the tense atmosphere as the dragon spots me. So I'm going to start with, and I'm going to check back. So I ended my paragraph, he was awake. So I'm now going to start with, so I'm going to assume it's a boy. We usually call things his, but you might want to write her, it's up to you. So I'm going to choose his skinny neck, because he's going to pop his head up and spot me. So his skinny neck popped up as his head, and now I'm going to use that spinning motion from the film clip we watched. So I'm going to say, as his head slowly, one of those adverbs there, slowly rotated, so that means looked around, slowly rotated, comma, looking, and he's looking for what woke him up. So I'm going to say looking for what had disturbed him. And then I'm going to leave that, so I'm going to put a full stop there. His skinny neck popped up as his head slowly rotated, looking for what had disturbed him. Now I'm going to tell the reader what I'm going to do. So, and I'm going to add some of those feelings in. So now I want to try and hide, don't I? So I'm going to say, as I tried to duck down, because remember, there was thousands of dragons, so it might be quite difficult to actually hide without waking some more up. So as I tried to duck down, sort of crouch down, as I tried to duck down away from his view, so he didn't see me, away from his view, comma, he spotted me. Oh dear, what's going to happen next? Full stop. As I tried to duck down away from his view, he spotted me. And then I'm going to tell the reader how that made me feel and what started to happen to me. So I could feel myself sweating, because a huge colossal beast that's just looked at me that could eat me would definitely make me feel quite anxious and probably sweaty. And my hands became, and I'm going to use one of the words from our whole class reading, and I'm going to use the word clammy, which means sticky and sort of, when you get nervous, your hands become a bit clammy, a bit sweaty. Full stop. So now the reader knows how I'm feeling. She can picture and she can see me getting really anxious. The beast, so I don't say the dragon again and again, I'm going to use the word the beast. The beast spread his, and I'm going to, his, good job I spotted that. What shall I say? I'm going to say he spread his wings. So I'm going to remember my expanded noun phrase from yesterday, and I think I called them leathery. So I'm going to say huge, leathery. And this is where you would put your expanded noun phrase for your dragon that you wrote about. His huge, leathery wings out wide. So I've used the word huge because I've already said the beast is colossal, so I want to keep that consistency. Huge, leathery wings out wide. And let out. And he's going to let out a big roar. So what kind of roar shall I call it? I like the word, I like the word thunderously, so I'm going to use that. So it let out a roar which was thunderously loud. So not just loud, but thunderously loud, really, really deafening, really loud. That gives it that, that helps us to almost hear how loud it was, that adjective thunderously. I like that. His long, sharp claws, I used that from my word collector there, his long, sharp claws, his long, comma, sharp, got two adjectives together there, so got another expanded noun phrase. His long, sharp claws, glistened, maybe, or I know, glinted, so they're sort of sparkling in the dark. And then I'm going to finish with one of those extreme scared words. So from our shadometer, the ones right at the top. So I'm going to pick terrified. I was terrified. So we've gone from nervous to alarmed to now feeling terrified. So that builds the atmosphere for the reader, that builds the picture up in stages. So we know that we're progressively, as things are going on, as the dragon spotted me, we're getting more and more scared. And we've used those show, don't tell words to give the reader that picture as well. So we started off with a beating heart, and then all of a sudden we're breaking out into a sweat and our hands are becoming clammy. His skinny neck popped up as his head slowly rotated, looking for what had disturbed him. As I tried to duck down, away from his view, he spotted me. I could feel myself sweating and my hands becoming clammy. The beast spread his huge leathery wings out wide and let out a roar which was thunderously loud. His long, sharp claws glinted in the dark. I was terrified. Perfect. So I'm very happy with that. I've read it through. I haven't made any mistakes. I corrected most of those as I went along. Now, your job is to now write your version of the ending. Don't forget those really scared words, those top words from our shadometer, and your expanded noun phrases. So you need to pause the video now and you need to finish writing for the last part of your paragraph, which is part 3. Okay, so you should have now paused me and finished off your paragraph. So you will have a paragraph that is about this big. So when you've put it all together, read it to a parent or a sibling or read it out loud and just check that it sounds good and it gives that atmosphere that we've been looking for. So I'm going to read mine and then I'm going to move on to part 2, which I think you'll enjoy very much. Feeling nervous, I began to search around for a dragon that would fit into my basket. The smell was revolting, so I held my nose, but I had to let go of it so that I had my hands free to grab myself a dragon. This turned out to be a bad idea because all of a sudden I sneezed. Now, I remember having a comma there in my last one, so I'm going to pop that in. Good. That's why it's good to read it through. The sound echoed around the cave and my heart began to beat rapidly as one colossal dragon lifted up his head. He was awake. His skinny neck popped up and his head slowly rotated, looking for what had disturbed him. As I tried to duck down away from his view, he spotted me. I could feel myself sweating and my hands became clammy. The beast spread his huge, leathery wings out wide and let out a roar which was thunderously loud. His long, sharp claws glinted in the dark. I was terrified. Okay, so now you should have your own paragraph. Please send me them. I'd love to read some of your paragraphs. I'll send them to Mr. Khan. He would love to read them too. So, I'm going to assume you finished because you've been pausing me all through. And now I'm going to quickly show you task 2. So task 2 now is to design yourself a dragon. So you're going to design your own dragon that is going to make, let me just go quickly back here so that you know why, these plot points. So you're going to write 2 plot points of your own on Friday. So you have had modelling here, and then you're going to decide what happens next in the story to finish the story off. So you want to design yourself a dragon to add to the story. Now, when you're designing your dragon, we need you to think about what it will look like. It could have wings, claws, scales, leather skin, a long tail, lizard-like eyes. So it's up to you what your dragon looks like. These are some of the pictures I took off the internet. This one's my favourite here, the rainbowy one. You need to think about what it will eat, animals, plants, people. Does it have any special abilities? Can it camouflage? Does it breathe fire? Or is it an ice-making dragon? And where does it live? Does it live in a cave like the ones we've been writing about? Or in the ocean maybe? Or maybe on a mountain ledge? And is it dangerous or harmless? Maybe it's a friendly dragon and you could write in your story that you met a friendly dragon. So you need to think about these things. Now, I've put the PDF version of this Design a Dragon sheet on the English, under the English star. So you can either print it off if you want, or you can just refer to that as you're doing it. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw a picture of your dragon in the bit that says portrait. So you're going to draw your dragon, colour everything beautifully. Here's one I made earlier, haha, and then give it a name. So very original, not. I've called mine the Rainbow Dragon. Hopefully you'll come up with a much better idea for a name for your dragon than mine, but it does look like a rainbow, to be fair. Okay, and then you're going to have 3 boxes. You've got habitat, which is where he lives, powers and abilities, so what he can do, so your action words again, and then the last one is what he eats. Now, as you will know, we don't want you to just write habitat, cave, he lives in a cave. So you need to write in full sentences. Draw back on the last 3 lessons that we've done and the whole class reading and take some of that vocabulary. So, my dragon, the rainbow dragon, the habitat for my dragon. I've written, the rainbow dragon is often found hanging behind stalactites in cold, damp caves. There's an expanded noun phrase. Put those in as well. This small beast prefers to live in darkness and is a nocturnal creature. So I haven't said dragon 3 times. I've used beast and creature, and I've written in full sentences with my capital letters and full stops, okay? So make sure that you write a couple of sentences about where your dragon lives. Now we're going to look at the powers. So I thought this dragon looks very pretty, but it's going to have hidden evil about it. So despite its colourful, pretty appearance, the rainbow dragon is a fierce and frightening reptile. Not only does it have a tail full of venom, which is poison, its small but savage mouth is crammed with teeth as sharp as daggers. And there we've got a simile, very useful for our descriptive writing. You can describe it as or like something, and then it gives that impression, well, I know what daggers are, so I can imagine what his teeth are like. So again, full sentences here. 2 or 3 sentences will be fine to describe the powers and the abilities of your dragon. Okay, and there's some ideas, remember here, which I'll put on the PDF under the English tab that will help you. Now, his diet. So I've written, like many reptiles, the rainbow dragon enjoys feasting on birds, frogs, fish, and even other reptiles. Rainbow dragons use their poisonous tails to their advantage, killing their prey with one fatal sting before ripping it into bite-sized pieces with its many teeth. So don't just say, my dragon eats fish, or my dragon eats mice, and then start your next sentence with, my dragon chews his food. Give it some imagination. How does he kill its prey? What does he like to eat? Maybe he likes to eat something completely different. Maybe it's a vegetarian. So if your dragon is friendly and it's no threat to you, you've decided to have a friendly one, it might be a vegetarian. Okay, so I'm going to leave you now and let you get on with that. So you've got your dragon design, and don't forget, you need to put these into full sentences because you will use these in your story writing for Friday. Okay, bye-bye, and I will see you in the next Zoom call.